Hey there YouTube, Craig here. I'm doing a little fuel line diagnosis today. Last Friday when I was on my way home from the scrapyard, when I got home I smelled gas. So I looked underneath the vehicle, and right in the middle, the main steel fuel line that runs from the gas tank all the way up to the engine compartment, it was rotted right in the middle. And it was spraying fuel everywhere. So over the weekend I put the vehicle on ramps, or the truck on ramps, and I removed the damaged portion of the fuel line, and I was going to replace it with rubber hose, fuel injection hose. And then I noticed that the fuel line from there, where I have it cut all the way up to the engine compartment, was still pretty rusty. So rather than taking a chance on that old crappy fuel line, I didn't want it to happen again. I just cut most of it out, and the fuel line, the steel fuel line, runs from the gas tank area all the way up to the engine compartment, where it connects in a quick connect that is connected to a braided fuel line that goes all the way up to the fuel rail on the engine. And that quick connect with that braided fuel line, I was a little worried about that quick connect leaking. So I made a contraption out of some old fuel hose and a bicycle valve, and I pumped up air into the line with an air pump, and it's holding 70 psi pretty good. So I don't think that quick connect's leaking, thank God, because to replace that braided fuel line that the quick connect connects to all the way up to the fuel rail is quite a pain. I didn't want to deal with that, thank God, and I don't think it's going to leak. So yeah, I'd rather be safe than sorry, and I'll show you what I made. Well, here's what I made. Here's the quick connect, and here's the old fuel line, a portion of it that I cut off. And I slipped the fuel line onto a rubber hose, an old rubber hose that I had, and I clamped it so this piece doesn't move. And I also had a new clip for the quick connect on the end. And it's connected to a hose, of course, and at the very end of the hose I put a bicycle valve from an old bicycle tube on there, and I clamped it so it won't leak. And I just pumped air into this bicycle valve, and I just noticed the air pressure gauge on the air pump to see if there was any leaks or not, and the air pump was holding air, or the air gauge was holding air pretty good. So I don't think that quick connect is leaking. I was a little worried about it, but it ain't leaking. So now it's time to proceed to get the parts and put her back together so I can get a running truck again. And plus the vent line from the gas tank all the way up to the engine compartment, that vent line, it's like a steel brake line, it's leaking too, so I'm going to replace that. There's a couple of pinholes in that. And yeah, that's how I tested out that quick connect line, by making this. And that concludes this video. Have a good evening or afternoon or whatever. Bye.